Welcome to the Third Eye Show, which brings you ancient wisdom as well as cutting-edge investigations into the mysteries of the universe. The Third Eye Show celebrates our diversity, like the unique beauty of each individual wave, and our oneness, like the magnificent ocean from which each wave emerges. We are all one in spirit as we live on this earth plane. The third eye is said to be able to see into the spiritual and psychic realms. At a time when our lives, our country, and our planet are undergoing intense transformations, we will explore topics that will fascinate, enlighten, and empower. Join us as we witness the thrilling ways spirit manifests in our daily lives and the varied paths we choose to create heaven here on our earth. The Third Eye Show is created and offered in love and light.
Hello, and welcome to a Third Eye special presentation. Today, we're going to be talking about psychic ability, mediumship, Reiki, dowsing, and more. I'm a psychic medium. So what does that mean? Well, it means that I am a psychic and I'm also a medium. They're two different functions, two different abilities. As a psychic, I tune into your energy. If I'm reading for you, I tune into your energy, the sitter's energy. And from that energy, I can feel what's going on in your life, what may be happening with your job or your relationships, and so on. As a medium, and today we're going to be talking mostly about mediumship. As a medium, I actually remove my attention from you and place it behind me so that I can pick up any energies, any people on the other side, people who have passed, people who have died, loved ones who are around you who might want to communicate with you. So how does that work? Well, actually we're playing telephone. When we're practicing mediumship, we're playing telephone. There are at least 4 people involved in mediumship. There's the sitter, let's say that's you. There's the medium, let's say that's me. There's my spirit guide, and I'm going to say guides plural because there's certainly more than one. So whatever spirit guides are working with me, and then behind them are what we call the communicators. And the communicators are your loved ones who are trying to communicate with you. So we have at a minimum the sitter, the medium, the guides, the communicator. So in order to get information from the communicator to the sitter, we're going through different people, and that's why a name like Valerie can sound like Mallory. That sort of thing can happen because remember, we're playing telephone. That's how it works. Actually, when someone does come through, they probably have been trying to get your attention all along and you just haven't really noticed them, or in your everyday waking state you've kind of shrugged things off and said, well, I must have just forgotten where I moved my keys. I thought I put them on the counter, and then I walk back in the room and they're not there anymore, and then I walk back in the room and they're there again. I must have just forgotten that I had them there all along. I don't know. Or when the TV comes on by itself, you think, well, that's odd, and just shrug it off. And you don't really realize that someone is trying to communicate with you, because when those things do happen, or you smell someone's perfume, you smell your mother's perfume, or that pie that she always baked sort of out of the blue, she's trying to communicate with you. And that's why she's going to be easy to come through when I read for you, because she's already trying to get your attention. The trick is for her to lower her vibration to a point where someone who is here in 3D, me, or another medium, can perceive her, can hear her, can see the images that she's sending so that she can communicate with you in a way that makes sense to you, in a way that you'll understand. So that's basically how mediumship works. I'm sort of acting as a telephone in a way for you. So if I'm a telephone, can I just dial up anybody? Can you just dial up Mom or dial up Uncle Harry? Well, no. I wish that were so, but it isn't. They come through when they are ready. Sometimes, believe it or not, sometimes your loved ones are doing something else, or they are somewhere else and they're really not available. If we can continue this telephone analogy, sometimes you don't answer the telephone because you're busy doing something else, and sometimes spirits don't answer the telephone. So you may want to speak to Mom, but she's simply somewhere else doing something else and doesn't answer the telephone. Or what is more likely, because she knows that phone call is coming from you, so she's probably going to want to answer that call when she hears it. What is more likely is that Mom is having a problem lowering her energy to the point, it takes a lot of energy on their part to lower it to the point where it can be perceived by someone who is here in 3D, who's here in this, or 4D actually, if you include time, who is here in this flesh and blood world that we inhabit. It takes a lot of energy on their part. So that's why you can't just dial up Uncle Harry if you'd like. And it's unrealistic to expect that you're going to hear from whomever you wish to hear from. And I'll tell you that I don't believe any medium can actually say, in all honesty, that they can provide that communication with anybody you'd like to hear from. I don't think it's possible. And I've been a medium all my life. So I'm dubious of anyone who says that they can, because I don't believe it's possible. So, no, you can't dial up just anybody. And it takes a lot of energy on their part. So, when we're in this construct, the sitter, the medium, the guides, and the communicator, the spirit communicator, who is the primary person in this group? The communicator. When I sit down to do a session, I always keep in mind that the most important person I will be serving is the spirit person. The spirit people are the most important because they no longer have the ability to speak to you. In other words, if you and I have an argument and I feel that I'm at fault, I can call you up. You may or may not take my call, but I can leave you a message and I can say, I'm really sorry. I spoke out of turn. I was in a bad mood, whatever was going on. But spirits can't do that anymore. They can't communicate that message of support or asking for forgiveness or whatever. Usually they're offering support and love, but sometimes they are asking for forgiveness. Whatever their agenda is, whatever it is they wish to communicate, that is the most important. To me, the most important person to be served is the spirit communicator, because that person no longer has the ability to pick up the phone and call you and say, I know you're going through a hard time. I want you to know I love you and I'm here for you and I support you, or whatever the message may be. And there are all kinds of messages that come through. So keeping that in mind also, I am not in charge of the reading. No medium is in charge of the reading. Not only can I not dial up Uncle Harry, I wouldn't do it if I could, because I trust the intelligence of spirit. I trust that whomever comes through is the person who is meant for you to receive a message from. I trust that process, I trust my spirit guides, and I trust the greater intelligence of spirit. So, all right, so that's a baseline. That's basically how it works. So how does psychic ability differ from mediumship again? Well, is one greater than the other? I don't believe one is greater than the other. Not at all. I know that there are some mediums who believe that they are more gifted than psychics. I've heard this more than once, that all mediums are psychics, but not all psychics are mediums. And that may be true. That may be true. However, they are complementary talents. And there are times where someone sits down for a reading with me, and that person really doesn't need a mediumship reading. They really don't need to hear from anyone in spirit. What they really are sitting down for with me is to find out some information about their job, what's coming with their job, or how are things going to improve with the finances, or how can I get that house to sell, or other things that a psychic reading can help with. Or I have this past life issue going on. Can you help me with that? Well, mediumship isn't going to help with that, but a psychic reading will help with that. So I find the two abilities to be complementary, and I never set an agenda when I give a reading. I trust spirit that we will be guided to either give you a psychic reading, a mediumship reading, a blending of the two, or whatever is appropriate. I do feel they are complementary and that they are equal. They are equal in value and they're equal in usefulness. So that's the difference. The psychic ability is really focusing on you, and the mediumship is focusing on spirits around you who wish to communicate. In a nutshell, that's the difference. So can anybody become a psychic or a medium? Well, I believe everybody is psychic. I teach workshops. I offer psychic development workshops, and I have seen it over and over again that people who think they're not psychic but are just curious amaze themselves with what they can do. I believe that we are all psychic. We all possess the ability to intuit when you walk into a room, that, or you're house hunting, that this space feels comfortable, this one does not feel comfortable. I resonate with this person, I don't resonate with that person. Well, what is that resonance? That is psychic ability. We all have intuition. We all use it all the time, but we don't often give it credit, give ourselves credit for that psychic ability. So we're all psychic. There's no doubt about that. Are we all mediums? Not sure. Not sure about that, if anyone can learn mediumship. If you have some ability, you can certainly develop it and enhance it. Do we all have it, though? I'm not really sure about that. And there are all sorts of psychic abilities. There's clairaudience, where you hear something. Clairsentience, where you simply know. Clairvoyance, where you see something. They're all different types of psychic ability, and they can all be brought to bear. But actually hearing the thoughts that someone is speaking, I don't believe anyone can do that. So you're safe, okay? Your thoughts are your own and they're private. But that brings us to the whole issue of, if you're telepathic, if you're psychic, why aren't you rich? Why can't you just win the lottery or know which stock is going to soar and that sort of thing? First of all, I don't think it's that specific. I do see numbers. Sometimes, but I just don't think that that's what it's intended for. You know, I believe that we are all on a certain trajectory, that we have a life path. I do believe in fate. I believe in fate and free will, which is maybe a subject for another day, but I believe in a blend of the two. And if I'm meant to win the lottery, I will. And if I'm not, I won't. So it's not about me bending the world to my will, you know, so that I can become rich. That's not what this ability is about. This is about serving spirit. That's what it's for. That's what it's about, serving spirit. Well, this is spiritual work. You shouldn't take any money for it. And I've given this a lot of thought. If you go to the vet, if you bring your dog or your cat to the vet, that person has a natural proclivity for science. They have to. They also have to have a natural affinity for animals in order to understand patients who cannot speak to them. I believe actually there's a lot of psychic ability involved in veterinary medicine, for example, just as one example. So why do we pay them? Because they have a natural affinity and they're serving and they're helping. If I can sing, if I'm gifted with a beautiful voice and I can just sing beautifully and people love to hear me sing, why should they pay me to hear me sing? I mean, this is just a natural talent. Maybe I didn't even go to school and develop it, as the veterinarian obviously did. Why should we pay that person? Well, because everyone's time is worth something. There are several facets to this. First of all, everyone's time is worth something. And my time certainly is. If I take a couple of hours out of my day to go somewhere and give readings, I should be compensated for that time, of course, just like anyone else. But also, there's an exchange of energy, a fairness to exchanging energy that I think is relevant since everything is energy. And when I'm giving readings, it's all about energy. And then there's the question of people valuing the reading more if they pay for it. Now, I have a friend who opened up to his mediumship not too long ago, and at first he gave the readings away. He didn't feel confident enough to charge money for them, so he just gave them away. And he found that people canceled readings because they were free. They didn't value what he was bringing through because they were free. They felt quite within their rights to show up late for the reading, to just not show up at all, um, to do whatever they wanted because they were free. They weren't valued at all. When he started charging money for his readings, people started showing up on time. They listened. They got more from the readings, and he found that he actually was a more effective medium by charging money for the readings. So there's that element too. The sitter might not really like to hear that, but that is true. It is a part of the process. So there's several reasons why I charge money for readings, and everyone I know does. And I think that it's appropriate to do so. But it is a question that I think bears consideration. It is worth thinking about. So, let's see. Can I turn it off? This is a question I hear all the time. Can I turn it off? Um, yes and no. Remember that I work with spirit guides, and they help me, and they will shield me, if need be, from troublesome energies or constant bombardment by spirits. That said, spirits do come through. They often come through before readings. Sometimes they wake me up in the middle of the night and I have to ask them to please go away. I tell them I'm not going to be as effective a medium tomorrow if I don't sleep tonight. So if you want to really have a clearer communication with your daughter, your son, whatever, tomorrow, let me sleep. Let me go back to sleep now. Thank you very much. And they do. Um, so yes, they do come through, and psychic impressions certainly do come through. I can be at the supermarket and have a feeling about someone. Yes. And that brings up another question. But let me just finish the thought. But for the most part, I am in control of it. Yes. So yes, I can turn it off and have a life. Yes. But that brings up another question. Should I go up to that person in the supermarket and say, hey, your dad's here? And there's a lot of debate about this. So all I can offer you is my opinion. And in my opinion, no, it is not appropriate to do that because that person has not asked for a reading. Some people might be frightened to think that dad is following them. Maybe dad was not a nice person in this life and they don't want to hear from him. Even though he may be bringing through a message of forgiveness and love, please forgive me and I love you. We may not get that far because that person does not want to hear from dad. Some people believe that mediumship is a negative practice. Their spiritual paths, teach them that this is not something that you should do. And so for that person, it might actually frighten them to have a medium come up and say, dad's here or grandma's here or whatever. And I think you have to respect that. Whether you agree with people's different paths or not, you have to respect their autonomy. You have to respect that they have these feelings and work within the confines of that. So I do not go up to people on the street corner and say, hey, your brother is here and your dead brother is here and he wants to talk to you. I do not believe that is appropriate. Let's continue with the thought of ethics for a little bit. First of all, I do believe that everything that is said to me should be disclosed in a psychic reading or a mediumship reading. And people ask me this all the time. Are you going to tell me everything you see, whether I want to hear it or not? And I always say yes. My personal feeling about this, and I know other psychics and mediums feel differently, and I respect that, but this is my feeling, is that anything that is shown to me is shown to me purposefully. I trust spirit. I trust them to bring through what is appropriate for you, and I never hold anything back. So whatever is shown to me, I will show to you. Now, sometimes I do see in a psychic reading that a surgery is coming up, for example. Now, I'm not claiming to be a doctor. I'm not saying, go have an operation. What I may say is that you might want to have that checked out. If I ask, are you experiencing a cough or something? Well, yes, I am. Well, why don't you have that checked out? Or is your knee bothering you? Why don't you have that looked at? And I may say, well, I kind of feel that you might be moving in that direction. This might end up moving in that direction. I do feel a possible surgery coming up. Again, I am not diagnosing medicine. What I'm suggesting is that you go for a medical checkup. But sometimes when that shows up, it's being shown to the person before it happens so that they also get the end of the story, which is, I have a good feeling about this. I think there will be a good outcome. So yeah, if your knee is hurting you, why don't you go have that looked at, and you may find that the medical intervention is going to make you feel a whole lot better. So yeah, I would definitely say that if it came through. I would not withhold that. I don't withhold anything because I trust that what's coming through is appropriate for you to hear. Okay, and confidentiality. This is, I think, a very important point. And every reading must be confidential. Must be confidential. And I think we all agree on that. Every psychic, every medium agrees on that. All readings are confidential. They have to be. Okay, so there are some other things that do come up from time to time. For example, attachments. Now, there are a lot of different thoughts about attachments. There are people out there who say that they battle demons and they battle attachments. I have never encountered a demon, and I have never encountered an attachment, and I never will. The reason that I won't is because I do not believe that they exist, and so I don't give any power to anything of that type. And that brings us to intention. This is a little bit complicated, but it all works together. Demons, attachments, intention. My intention when I go into, and protection. Protection is another one we can add to that pile. My intention when I read for someone, or I go into a home where people feel that the energy is troubled or the space is troubled, my intention is always, always, always to serve the highest good. I don't need anything else. I don't need to be protected. I don't have to fear demons, which I don't believe in. I don't need to fear attachments. Nothing will ever hurt me. I don't need protection. I don't need anything, because that pure intention to serve the highest good is all you need. That will protect you. That's all you need. And of course, you've got spirit guides who are there to help and protect. So I do not believe in demons. Zero belief in demons. Now, there are people who are confused. Sometimes people are traumatized when they pass, and they get kind of stuck between worlds because they're traumatized, and they may act out. Yeah, can those things happen? Absolutely. But are there demons? No. There are no demons. And attachments? No. Now, sometimes if I'm in a place where the energy is really disturbed, it actually has happened where I have gone home and my water faucets turn on by themselves, this sort of thing. That's my energy. That is sort of excess kinetic energy that you bring home from that environment. That is not a demon. That is not an attachment. So these are fear-based ideas that people go into situations with. Or, let's be honest, sometimes people are kind of titillated by the idea. It's kind of exciting to think I'm going to battle a demon or something. And so they go in with the idea that, yeah, I'm going to go into this space and I'm going to do battle. And so they create something with their minds. That's what actually happens. But there are no demons, there are no attachments, and intention is everything. Another question that comes up often is the question of distance, the effect of distance on psychic ability and mediumship. And I can tell you from long experience that distance has no effect on psychic ability and mediumship. I have performed mediumship literally for people in Australia, on the other side of the planet. and I have read for people in other parts of the world via Skype, over the phone. It doesn't matter. Essentially, we are all one great spirit. We are all connected. There is nothing that separates us but an illusion. And that is how we can read for one another wherever we are in the world. So, distance has no effect on psychic ability. If you have someone who you love, a reader you love who's in Arizona and you're in New Hampshire, you can call that person up and get a perfectly good reading from that person. The distance means nothing. And I can read for people wherever they may be. Distance has no effect on this ability whatsoever. So, how do you find a competent psychic or competent medium? Well, there's several ways you can do this. I think word of mouth is probably the best way. If you know someone who has had a reading and was happy with the reading and felt that the person really was in tune with them and gave a great reading, that's the best recommendation. You can also go to your nearest New Age bookshop and talk with them, because they often have competent readers come in. And anyone who's going to be practicing for any length of time at a shop is going to be a good reader. So those are a couple of ideas. You can certainly call me. But those are a couple of ideas. You can attend a psychic fair. There are several psychic fairs that are held within the state of New Hampshire, and certainly all over the country and all over the world. There are psychic fairs. So check out a psychic fair and see who you resonate with. See who feels like the right reader for you. Trust your intuition to guide you to the right person for you. And I just want to close with, this is a lifelong study for me. So, why am I still a student? You know, I'm not a kid, obviously. I'm not a kid anymore. I've been studying mediumship and psychic abilities and reincarnation, all of these mysteries my entire life. Why am I still a student? Because, believe you me, there's more than a lifetime's worth of study to do. Because I only know this much about what's out there. There is so much to learn. There is so much to learn. Keeping yourself open to learning experiences throughout your entire life, I think, keeps you healthy, keeps your mind healthy, keeps you growing, and keeps you improving at whatever it is you do. And I intend to study mediumship my entire life. So that's Mediumship 101. These are the questions that I'm often asked, and I hope that I've answered your questions. If you still have questions, feel free to contact me, and I will be happy to help to direct you to someone who might be right for you, or answer any questions that you may have that I can possibly answer. I'd be very happy to do that. Um, uh, I hope that this has been of some use to you, and I hope you think about some of these issues. Thanks.
Yeah, that's fine.
So we are here today with Tari MacDonald and Venita Nudd of Reiki and Paradise in New London, New Hampshire, to talk about dowsing. Ladies, I know that obviously one of your great passions is Reiki, and I know that you're both very proficient in Reiki and you help a lot of people with it, with that energy work. But you're also interested in dowsing, and you're certainly proficient and interested in that as well.
Absolutely.
I think a lot of people don't really know much about dowsing, myself included.
Mm-hmm.
And so tell us about dowsing. What is dowsing?
Well, I'll actually tell you that there's a definition for dowsing, and it's to search for a source of water or minerals with a divining rod. That's the definition of dowsing. But you can douse for a lot of things. We at Reiki in Paradise douse for your chakras. That's our reason for dowsing. In Reiki, you have chakras, which are energy centers down through your body, and when those are spinning in a proper direction and at a good rate, your health is going to be really good. Your spiritual, mental, physical health should be pretty much aligned when we line those up for you and make sure they're open and spinning. So, and our goal at Reiki in Paradise, of course, is that the mind will heal the body if you allow it. So, we get you to relax a little bit, and hopefully you will open up your own pharmacy and within and heal yourself, or help the doctors that are trying to help you. We always say at Reiki in Paradise, whatever program you're on, be it physical, mental, whatever, continue with that, and
right.
and we're just there to help. We're not there to take over. We're there to help.
Maybe to promote faster healing
Mm-hmm.
than ordinarily it would happen.
That's right.
And dowsing is part of that process?
Well, dowsing your chakras is a big help.
It helps us identify which one of the chakras might be closed, in order to, we might want to give more Reiki to that particular chakra because the dowser shows us that it's closed and not functioning properly.
Can you tell us more about that, Venita? I mean, how would that work? How exactly would you douse a chakra?
Okay, the people are usually laid out and relaxed. Tari uses the L rods.
Show us.
Okay, these are
Sure.
the L rods.
These are my L rods, and named because they look like an L. And L rods can be, well, you can't really douse your chakras right here, but like the first thing when you douse, you want to know what yes is. I mean, you have to have something. So yes, thank you. You're always very polite when you douse. You try to be specific. In this case, may I douse now? I always ask permission. It's just the way I was taught. Thank you.
Now, you cannot be manipulating those because you're holding tubes.
They're spinning on tubes
Right,
like
they
that.
have- when you
Right,
when you make
okay.
your own,
I just want to show people.
right? When
yeah.
you're making your own, this one's really high tech here. It's a straw with a coat hanger.
I love that.
And what it needs to be able to do is to spin totally around.
And
And the same thing with these are Tari's creations for a lot of our younger students. The famous Big Pen and the coat hanger. It should be a metal coat hanger. Then again, to be able to spin.
Very expensive tool.
Expensive.
Yeah, I love that. I love that's accessible to everybody.
Right.
so you have your rods.
Mm-hmm.
And like in this instance, we'll go two directions. Please may I see Venita? Where's Venita? Okay. Now Mike's running the camera, so please could you show me Mike?
Okay, so
Thank you.
May I ask with whom you are speaking? I mean, who are you thanking when saying please and thank you to?
You know, it's that inner voice, that inner knowledge that we all have. It's the universal knowledge. Every human being has universal knowledge. It's everything that ever was and will be within. My mom used to say that the world doesn't revolve around you. No, it revolves within me.
Yes.
So we have all the answers in our subconscious mind. For instance, if you go to sleep at night and you have a question and you think about that question just before you go to sleep, even write it out, put it under your pillow so it's there. By morning, more often than not, after you get done with your conscious mind and all that nagging that we do to each other and all that chit-chat and stuff that's in there, when you go to sleep, that's all quiet. And you dive into your subconscious mind. And that's where the answers are.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we're in a trance all the time. No matter how you slice it, we're in some sort of a trance all the time. Some people a little deeper than others. Those are the ones that you kind of go, they're number than a boot. And that, where was your head? Well, I was somewhere else. I was not in this chit chat here. I was slower and more advanced. My head was more advanced at that minute. And that's kind of how it works. Your subconscious mind has all the answers. You just have to know where you file them.
Mm-hmm. Some people talk about the holographic universe.
Mhm.
Michael Talbot wrote a book, a pretty well-known book called The Holographic Universe, in which he talks about the universe being fractal, in that each piece contains the whole. And so each one of us being a piece of that universe, each one of us is a fractal, and each one of us contains the whole of the universe. And that's what I'm hearing as you're talking. I mean, that's what, you know,
That's
that's what
right.
it relates to in my mind,
Right.
is that we all contain the whole, and that's how we all have this knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we're talking with what you would call your higher self, perhaps, or the,
That's right.
yeah. Okay.
It's all in there.
It's just your little story about we're all born with the pharmaceutical. We're all born with the pharmaceutical within us. We have what we need in here to heal ourselves. We just have to relax and become more aware of it.
Mhm.
And so
And know
it's
where to
all
find
in
it.
here. It's in here.
It's all about consciousness.
That's right.
Consciousness.
That's right. And the conscious level is rising now.
Yes.
Since
Absolutely.
December, it's more than ever before. This full moon that's coming up on the 23rd, the space between the dimensions is supposed to be thinner than ever before. Some people, I call it the separating the chaff. You know, the chaff. It just, some people are going to make it and some aren't.
Mm-hmm.
We can no longer think the way we used to think
Mhm.
because we're evolving. Hopefully, we're evolving. And I think that there are some people that haven't hit that point. And they're just sitting there going, well, I don't know what's going on. Well, the whole world's rising around you.
Well, we all have free will,
We do.
so we have the choice to have our to go with that rising consciousness or not.
Well, we're kind of sliding into, we're kind of sliding into the age of Aquarius, if you will,
Yes.
and it's all good, and we're at a point where we're going to learn how to take care of one another. I would like to think, which is what Reiki in Paradise is about. If you have a problem, we will take care of you. If I can't help you, and Venita can't help you, we will send you to whoever can help you.
Yes.
I don't have all the answers. I do have all the answers, but I don't have them right in front of me all the
Right.
time.
Well, it's
So-
all consciousness.
It
It's all
is.
about consciousness.
and it's
Right.
about intent. That's
Yeah.
what
Yes,
dowsing is all
yes.
about, intent. You asked me earlier about water, finding water.
Yes.
Well, you don't want to just find water. You want to find sustainable water. You want to find pure water. You want to find enough water. You want to find water that is happy water, okay? You want the water guides and the water spirits to be happy with you having the water. You know, are you going to do good things with this water? Are you going to use it for greedy purposes? You're going to start selling it? You might not get it,
Mm.
okay?
Mhm.
It's well, everything at Reiki in Paradise is all about being positive. It's all about
It is. Yeah.
good, being good, behaving yourself, be nice.
Mhm.
Doesn't cost a cent to be nice. Venita does douse with a bullet.
Would you like to show your
Right. I
bullet?
have to admit, I cannot make these expensive dowsers work. I think it's just a matter of what works for you. I happen to like pendulums better.
Can you get in on this, Mike?
Show me yes, please.
So it's going around in a
All
circle.
right. Everyone
that's
might
yes.
be right. That's a yes for me. Everyone needs to identify what their yes and no is. Show me no, please.
Oh, it's going counterclockwise.
Sure.
Counterclockwise. Thank you. Now, how you were asking earlier, how we identify if a chakra is spinning in the
Yes.
correct direction, if it's open. So as your patient is laying there, you just approach each chakra,
Each point on the body.
each point on the body, each chakra, and ask if it's open. And it knows I'm not talking about a chakra right now, so it's not doing much of
Give you
anything.
much of anything.
Maybe if we put it over your head, perhaps that would.
Yeah,
But that's how we tell.
All right, so let's say that the chakra is closed. What do you do?
Well,
at
then
that
then
point,
we put our hand over it.
then we go back to the Reiki.
Use Reiki to
Use
help
Reiki,
to-
and you put your hand. You start spinning your hand in a forward direction, a positive direction, clockwise, and that'll start spinning the chakra in that direction. Hopefully, if not, I mean, it might just open your chakra for a small amount of time, because what your issue is not related now. It's something that's happened to you before, and then in your childhood. Could be in a past life. It could be somewhere along the line that I have no connection to. Sometimes you have to clean up your own mess. All I can tell you is where the mess is and what might have happened. Sometimes my intuition helps me to narrow in on what might have happened. We had one client that I said, did you have an accident long about 1969? She goes, with my dad. And I went, yeah, well, yeah. Well, that scared you. And she says, yeah, it did. I was really scared. I said, well, that closed you up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, the
And
accident's over.
And the more fear you have, shut right down. And then it ends up becoming a disease, as we call it, dis-ease.
Right. So then dowsing is working with universal consciousness, and Reiki is working with universal energy.
That's right. So between the combination of the two of them, you can pretty much undo just about anything that has happened.
Powerful combination.
It is. And
we were
also another
having-
thing that happens with dowsing is you can scramble frequencies. Like, we're all built on frequencies. The perfect frequency is pi, right? And if your frequencies aren't lined up the way they're supposed to be, which means one of your chakras is probably off or something, you can scramble the frequencies with this. It's a bobber.
That's what
There-
our friend Raymond Grace
Our
uses.
friend Raymond Grace uses this very nicely along with his bullet, and and when your frequencies aren't right, it's kind of like we're all like a radio. I'm tuned at 104.2 or whatever, and you are also. Everybody's tuned to a different frequency. And I won't say we're all tuned to the same frequency, because we all live in different places, we all have lived different lives, we all have different beliefs and backgrounds. It's all part of the package. But if you're not tuned to your frequency, then you really do have some negative things happening. But there are a lot of things you can do with dowsing that don't involve Reiki. I mean, if you've lost something, you can go find something, or there are a lot of things that can be done if you're not greedy. You can't use dowsing for a negative thing. If you want to win $1 million, don't use Reiki. I mean, don't use dowsing, because you're not going to do it.
Well, another issue, you should also mention that if you had a question that you have already made up your mind, I want this to say yes, it will.
Oh, we were talking about marrying Bill.
Yes,
Right,
Bill.
Right.
I want to marry Bill.
I want to marry Bill.
Is that okay?
I
mean,
want
that's
Bill
really
to love me no matter what.
Right.
Oh,
Is
he's been
this-
married
is
for
this-
40 years and he doesn't even know your name, but all
Is
right.
this a good decision? If you have something that personal to ask, you should have someone else do it for you, because your subconscious will override it.
And you
Yeah.
couldn't trust that.
No.
You can't trust it at all.
No.
I know that doing a psychic reading, now you're psychic, Tari. I know you're very humble about it, but there's no doubt about it. and you know that you can't read for yourself, because I'll read for myself and say, is this going to be a fantastic trip? Please
Yeah.
say yes.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, believe me, I dowsed for this interview. How is this interview going to go? Oh, 100%.
wonderful.
Yeah,
Excellent.
it's just a conversation.
Reiki, dowsing, mediumship, intuitive readings, whatever. I think it all works only if you're humble.
Mhm.
And the minute you start getting your ego involved, you're no longer going to be productive in what you believe in. Because then it's about you. It's about your ego. We at Reiki in Paradise care about you. We want you to feel good. We want your mind to be good. We want your body to be good. We want your spirit to be good.
Mhm.
That's how decent human beings get through life. And that's how decent human beings treat each other decently. If you're feeling good, you want other people to feel good. There really is no need in telling someone, if you have two coats, give one to someone else. That's common sense, and that's just being decent. And as far as human beings are concerned, I guess I'm with Raymond Grace in that I will be one with you as long as your attitude is good.
Oh,
Well, he did say he does not want to be. We are one in that we are all atoms, but some of those atoms are rather negative, and I don't have that many of them in my body. So I'll leave those for the people that need them or have them. I don't want to be put in a box with serial killers.
Right.
We might be composed of the same materials, but their choices and mine are different choices.
Yes.
And it's your choices, your intent, and all that makes you who you are.
Yes, I agree.
So as long as my beliefs stay on a positive level, that's what I really care about.
I was really shocked. I saw Marie Osmond. She's a talk host now or something. She said she has a short little commercial now, and I would just say, wow, people are really thinking differently. She says, isn't it time that we start building each other up instead of...
Exactly.
Building each other up. How did she say it? Instead of putting each other down, building each other up.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's even people are just becoming more aware.
mainstream. Yeah.
And it's...
Yeah, that's wonderful. That's, of course.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's everything. Where we place I always say, where we place our intention and our attention,
Mhm.
that creates the universe.
Right.
That's
Creates everything. We are creating it moment by moment with choices we are making
right.
about where we are placing our attention.
Exactly.
So placing your attention on something that's really destructive or detrimental is not, in my view, it's not a use of my
It's a
energy
waste.
that I would
Right.
want to
No.
Yeah.
indulge in.
Waste.
Not at all. So when we were talking about mending bones before, I just want to make this point clear, that we are not talking about don't go to a doctor,
Right.
go
No,
and get Reiki instead. I mean, you were
Nope.
very clear about that,
Nope.
right, Tari? Saying go and get your bones set, go and have your
Do what you-
problem taken care of,
That's right.
and
If-
then as a complement to enhance your healing process,
That's right.
this can help. You can help yourself.
If you need mental treatments, go see a therapist.
Yeah.
I'm not a therapist. I can help you open up to say, okay, perhaps I should look at this with a broader view.
Mm-hmm.
I can help you if you've got mental issues. I can help you say, okay, I need to calm down a little bit. Perhaps this will help me focus better.
Right.
We have kids with ADHD and ADD, and name some letters, put them together, and they come in and I give them tunings. Now it started with a student that came from Proctor Academy, and we get a handful of kids from there every year. They bring a group in, and we had one kid that obviously we were trying to do a meditation, and this student had no desire to sit still whatsoever, could not
She
sit
couldn't.
there.
She
Just couldn't sit there. And after we got done with the meditation that everybody was trying to do, I said, come on, let's go in the next room for a minute. And I said, I want to try to tune you and see how that works. Let's see if we can do that. So I took her in the next room, and I said, "Can you just stand here for a minute? Let me get my tuning forks." So I was tuning her, and she just stayed right there for like 5 minutes, did not move a muscle. And I said, "I stayed. Go. How's that feel?" She says, "That feels so different. I feel different." I said, "You do?" She says, "Yeah." I said, "You just stood in the same spot for 5 minutes without moving." She says, "I've never done that."
Mm.
I said, "That's cool." She says,
Mhm.
"That feels good." So after that, she kind of calmed down for the rest of the day, and I didn't see any more jittery action or anything. She was just nice and settled, and that, I think, if she had that done maybe once every few days or whatever, who knows what would happen.
Would it certainly enhance her experience?
Well, we
Sure.
got a little note that said, "I'm concentrating much better now.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
more
great.
focused." And that's what that tuning business does. It helps you focus.
That's great.
So, yeah, that helped her a lot. And,
Yeah, we have a couple of ADHD children. They come to Reiki in Paradise, and then across from us is Cindy's
Little Bear Pottery.
Little Bear Pottery. And she says when they come over to her to create, that they're just more focused
Mm.
after they've had a Reiki session. And then they go over and they're just more
Focused.
more creative. Yeah,
So anyone can really learn dowsing.
oh,
Sure.
absolutely.
It's available
Absolutely.
to everybody, right?
Get a dowser, get a pendulum.
We sell them.
We-
We sell
You are
'em.
hopeless. There's, there are all kinds of pendulums. You can
Make
get
'em
them.
out of
metal.
metal.
There's crystals.
I made one out of a button.
You made one out of a
here's
button.
here's one of yours.
Yeah.
This is a Lucia.
Special.
We have these for sale. They're expensive.
They're made out of wood.
We have wooden ones.
I would think some people perhaps would resonate with wood and others crystals.
Exactly.
There's some
Right.
crystals.
Oh, I like that
know,
one. That's pretty.
there's
That sort of looks like a UFO. I like that.
Yeah,
like
that one's a little.
I like
so
that.
there's all kinds of tools that it just depends on you and what you feel like.
So how do you learn? I mean, what do you do? Where do you go? How do you
Well,
find a teacher?
There is the ADS, the ASD, which is the American Society of Dowsers. We learned from Dan Fleetum, who was at a psychic fair
In Canaan.
in Canaan. Now, I went to someone who, in the past, knows how to move water. I said, "How do you move water?" And the response was, "Don't move the water." The water spirits don't like that.
Ah.
The water spirits, the earth spirits, Mother Earth, things are the way they are because that's the way they were meant to be. What is. It's not ours to move. And I felt very embarrassed after I asked this man about this, because it was Raymond Grace. And he said, no, the water spirits do not like that. The spirit of water, if you make friends with the spirit of water, they will take care of you. But you have to make peace. And that's how you tend to water. You talk to it, you work with it, you say what your needs are, and with your intention, that water will go where it needs to go or do what it needs to do. Your intention is to put beneficial energy in and take out the detrimental energy.
Water is very powerful, and I think that people don't really pay attention to the power of water. Because I have noticed that often, not always, but often when there's a disturbance in a home where people are feeling uncomfortable, especially if there's a lot going on, a lot of energy, like things flying around or doors opening and shutting or whatever, there's water underneath the house, there's water right in front of the house. Water carries spiritual energy. So perhaps the best approach, if anyone out there is listening and you are having a disturbance in your home and you do happen to have a creek right out back or something like that, the creek is is part of the equation. I'm not going to say part of the problem because it carries spiritual energy. But if you put an intention, a loving intention, send that out to that water, perhaps you can deflect or change.
Absolutely.
You can change the energy of the that the water is bringing through it through your home
Right.
and into your experience.
Right. Well, over at Reiki in Paradise, we also keep everything in your body keeps flowing. As long as it's not stagnant, good things will happen. So, if you've got stagnant water around your house, it's going to bring badnesses. Or it will bring you mosquitoes.
Mm.
You know, no-see-ums. You get all kinds of stuff, but your water won't be fresh either.
Right. We're down to the last minute or so. So I just want to thank you, ladies.
You're
Thank you
very
so
welcome.
much
Thank
for
you.
Thank
for
you for having us.
talking with people about dowsing and about
Thank you.
energy work.
Great.
It's really great work. It's interesting work, and we can all participate in this. It's not just for the few; it's for everybody. Everybody can participate in energy work. There's room for everyone. There's that consciousness belongs to all of us. So I just want to thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thank
It's
you.
been a pleasure being here.
Blessings.
Blessings to you.
Yeah. Thanks.
And as always, Reiki power.
Reiki power. You and your Reiki.